Washington, Lou Dobbs' Moneyline begins right now.
Tonight, lawmakers say they are fed up with Martha Stewart. The committee investigating Martha Stewart's questionable stock trading say they're concerned with inconsistencies in her testimony. Tonight, we begin with Louise Schiavone.
Lou, the committee did not use the word subpoena, but it may as well have. The committee says it's concerned Martha may have made false statements to Congress as well as obstructed the congressional investigation.
The Dow Industrials gave up all yesterday's rally and more. Transportation, financial, and discount retailers all tumble.
And the sell-off in technology erases off yesterday's gains as chip stocks tumble and take the NASDAQ with them.
President Bush again called for the overthrow of Saddam Hussein in stops in Kentucky and Indiana. He said that the world's worst leader cannot be allowed to blackmail the United States.
Also tonight, Afghanistan explodes in a new wave of violence. Afghanistan's president survived an assassination attempt. A U.S. Special Operations soldier guarding the president was injured in the firefight. We'll have a report for you from Kabul.
This is Lou Dobbs' Moneyline for Thursday, September 5th. Here now, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening. Tonight, Martha Stewart's problems are worsening. Martha Stewart is being investigated by Congress for possible insider trading of her shares of ImClone Systems. But we have learned that the committee is now concerned she may have lied. Louise Schiavone joins us from Washington with the story. Louise?
Lou, Martha Stewart's personal stock with Congress is so low that a key panel is declaring, quote, "We've reached the end of the road with Martha Stewart." Frustrated that the lifestyle maven has refused to meet with investigators for the House Energy and Commerce Committee, lawmakers are considering the next step. That step could be a subpoena to appear before Congress, a referral for criminal investigation, or dropping the case altogether. Committee Chairman Billy Tozan will announce the next step on Tuesday after his staff wraps up some loose legal ends. Ken Johnson, Chairman Tozan's spokesman, tells CNN, quote, "We're way past the issue of insider trading. We are now concerned about two major issues, making false statements and obstructing a congressional investigation." You'll recall that Stewart came into the picture with the fortuitous timing of her ImClone stock sale, a transaction undertaken just before the stock tanked on bad news from the Food and Drug Administration. The committee is concerned by what it calls inconsistencies in Stewart's story. Here's an example. Both Stewart and ImClone founder Sam Waxall insist they had no phone conversations in the days immediately before and after Stewart's stock sale. But investigators have found a cell phone record indicating there was indeed a call December 31st, 2001. Johnson says the committee is concerned that, quote, "Someone has lied to the committee." A spokesman for Martha Stewart had no comment on this latest development. Lou?
Louise Schiavone reporting from Washington. Thank you. Congress is widening its investigation of Wall Street firms as well. Citigroup has been the principal focus of the House Financial Services Committee until late yesterday. Now, Citigroup has company. The committee requested documents from Credit Suisse First Boston and Goldman Sachs. The committee is examining the way in which Wall Street firms allocated coveted initial public offering shares. Congressman Michael Oxley, the chairman of the House Committee, said that today that transparency is the true goal of the investigation.
We're not going to try to legislate how you do IPOs. The marketplace is a very good gauge of that, but I do think there need to be some ground rules and some more transparency.
The expanded investigation follows the committee's discovery last week. The former WorldCom executive Bernie Ebbers made $11 million from IPO shares that had been doled out from Citigroup's Solomon Smith Barney unit. Now it's time for our nightly Enron Corporate America criminal charges scoreboard. No new charges to report tonight. The score still 19-1. The one update, the number of days since Enron's collapse, 277. On Wall Street today, stocks fell for a sixth time in the past 7 days. The Dow posted its third straight triple-digit move. Today, the Dow Jones Industrials falling 141 points. The NASDAQ tumbled 41 points. The S&P 500 dropped 14 points. We'll have complete coverage of the market. And Peter Viles will have a special report as well tonight on what is behind much of the volatility in the market. Tonight, a terrorist alert has shut down operations at one of this country's most sensitive chemical weapons sites. Guards at a storage plant in Utah sounded the alarm after spotting a possible intruder. The chemical depot in Deseret, Utah, is run by the U.S. Army's Chemical and Biological Warfare Defense Command. National Guard troops that guard that facility sealed off the base. They have found no sign at this point of any intruder. Reports suggest nothing was tampered with, nothing stolen. The plant stores and destroys toxic chemicals and nerve agents. It recently finished destroying a large stockpile of sarin gas. The bioweapons expert Stephen Hatfield says his life has been ruined by suggestions that he is the leading suspect in the anthrax investigation. Attorney General John Ashcroft and the FBI say Hatfield is what they term, quote, a person of interest, end quote. Tonight, Hatfield's attorney called on the Attorney General to apologize for the way in which he's handled this case. Tim O'Brien reports from Washington.
48-year-old bioweapons expert Stephen Hatfield has found himself in the unenviable position of having to repeatedly defend himself against charges that have never been formally made.
I have had nothing to do in any way, shape, or form with the mailing of these anthrax letters.
But Hatfield has found that being declared by the Attorney General of the United States a person of interest in the case is every bit as damaging.
Mr. Hatfield is a person of interest to the Department of Justice, and we continue the investigation.
In a complaint filed with the department, Hatfield's lawyers say that statement alone violates Justice Department policy of not commenting on pending investigations, not to mention their client's civil rights. The Justice Department has effectively blacklisted Hatfield, directing his employer to cease use of the services of Mr. Hatfield, specifically as a subject matter expert and course instructor for programs funded by the Department of Justice. 98% of the research center's funding is from the Department of Justice. Hatfield subsequently lost his $150,000 a year job. Hatfield's apartment has been searched twice by FBI and Postal Service agents in full view of news photographers who'd been tipped off in advance.
Hatfield is not alone in this. There are many people whose lives have been destroyed by aggressive investigation, an investigation which, frankly, doesn't even put on the radar screen a concern for the rights of people who may actually be innocent.
People like the security guard Richard Jewell, who law enforcement had hinted might be the 1996 Olympic bomber in Atlanta, only to clear him later, leaving his reputation in tatters. The role of the news media, aggressively in pursuit of a hot story, is also a large part of the problem. Editors used to struggle over whether to publish the name of someone who might be a suspect but has never been charged. Today, the answer seems to be yes, publish before someone else does, and without regard to the hurt or the irreparable harm that inevitably follows. Lou?
Tim, thank you very much. Tim O'Brien from Washington. President Bush today traveled to Kentucky and Indiana to raise money for Republican congressional candidates. The president also repeated his desire to overthrow Saddam Hussein and his government, and the president as well defended his tax cut. White House correspondent Suzanne Malveaux is traveling with the president and joins us now from South Bend, Indiana. Suzanne?
Well, good evening, Lou. The president spent the day fundraising and campaigning here in South Bend, Indiana, earlier in Louisville, Kentucky. This is really where there are critical races for Republicans in the House. It could determine whether or not the House holds on to its 6-seat advantage for the Republicans. Also expect in the next 5 weeks that the administration is really going to be campaigning on two fronts. First of all, to try to get Republicans to win in the November midterm elections, but also to make sure that President Bush wins the support for ousting Saddam Hussein. Now, that takes place at a number of levels. On the home front, there'll be congressional hearings on Iraq. Administration says it'll cooperate, that it'll testify, but already today there are some lawmakers expressing some skepticism whether or not there'll even be new information. White House spokesperson Ari Fleischer is saying, yes, they've got sufficient evidence to make their case. Also, the White House aides will be working with Congress to craft a resolution of support to do whatever is necessary to oust Saddam Hussein. That resolution, we're told by aides, is going to have a broad type of language, broad words. It'll give the president the option to use military action. And finally, the president is going to make his case to the American people. He's going to be traveling. He's going to be talking about this. We also expect that Vice President Dick Cheney, as well as Secretary Rumsfeld, Secretary Powell, will all hit those Sunday political talk shows to make the White House case. And also, they will do so on the international stage as well.
Tomorrow, I'm calling leaders in Russia, China, and France to talk about the threats that face us all. I will see Tony Blair on Saturday. I will see Jean Chrétien on Monday. My point to you is not only will I consult with Congress and talk to Congress, my administration and I will do so, I will also see many of the leaders of the world and remind them of the facts.
Now, White House aides say that really a defining moment for the president, for this administration, is September 12th after the memorial services in New York, when he goes before the UN General Assembly to make the case to say that, yes, Saddam Hussein is not only a threat to the United States, but also to the world, that UN weapons inspectors have to go back in, but that they also have to have compliance, and that the very credibility of the United Nations is on the line. Lou?
Suzanne, thank you. Suzanne Malveaux. The two forest fires north of Los Angeles continue to burn out of control tonight. Those fires have already burned more than 20,000 acres in the Angeles National Forest. Investigators now believe the larger of those two fires may have been started by people involved in an animal sacrifice ritual. The fire has destroyed more than 70 buildings. It's shut down 2 main power lines. Officials will not say at this point whether they have a suspect in custody. Tropical storm Edward is now a tropical depression. It has moved into the Gulf of Mexico, but the storm is still causing major problems in the state of Florida. Edward produced as much as 4 inches of rain in places, flooding roads across the state. Flash flood watches continue tonight in much of central and southern Florida. Forecasters are now concerned with another system that's developing in the Gulf of Mexico. They say that storm could become a tropical depression as early as this time tomorrow evening. A powerful typhoon is bearing down on Taiwan tonight. Typhoon Senlaku is battering Japan's Okinawa Island. It hit there last night with strong winds and torrential rain. 5 Philippine sailors are missing. 90,000 homes without power. Much of Okinawa's transportation has come to a standstill. Taiwan's financial markets will be closed tomorrow because of this storm. Still ahead here, a gunman tries to assassinate the president of Afghanistan. A U.S. Special Forces soldier is wounded in the action. We'll have details for you. The midterm elections are exactly 2 months away, and candidates are struggling to have their messages heard. We'll debate the role of political advertising on television. And a powerful women's group takes aim at one of the country's most prestigious golf clubs. We will be talking with the head of that group. All of that and more still ahead. Stay with us.
Introducing the all-new E-Class. You may never want to leave
it. Exclusive Judge Judy straight talk after months of silence on some touchy topics. Only on Larry King Live, CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Dad, will you read me a story?
Sorry, champ, I've got to work.
Dad, will you play box with me?
Sorry, Pumpkin, this is due tomorrow.
Dad, finger paint would be fun.
Sorry, sweetheart, my job is on the line.
Dad, will you play Hot Wheels with me?
At Tonkin, we have the widest range of things that go vroom in town because we know how it is with cars.
Remember the Queen of Hearts? Well, she recently fell in love thanks to the MatchLink Singles Network. Yes, she found her perfect match without having to browse through hundreds of ads. Now they do everything together. Sledding in the park, cuddling by a warm, cozy fire. They even went on a romantic vacation together. Yes, another happy ending. And your love life can have one too. The MatchLink Singles Network. It's safe, confidential, and enrollment is free.
This is CNN.
The National Football League tonight kicks off its regular season. The rare Thursday night start to the season begins with a benefit concert in Times Square. That concert being broadcast live all around the world. It is all part of a tribute to those who lost their lives in the September 11th attacks against America and to the enduring spirit of New York City and this country. The game itself will feature a contest between the San Francisco 49ers and the inestimable New York Giants. As we said, the football season begins tonight, but the political campaigning for midterm elections started some time ago. It is now underway in earnest. The question for candidates is how to get their messages across to the voters. A report in this morning's New York Times says politicians are becoming skeptical about the power of television advertising. Joining me now are Ron Forshot, the editor-in-chief of the Campaigns and Elections magazine, and pollster John Zogby. Gentlemen, good to have you back with us.
Thank you.
I want to ask you both, were you as surprised as I was that candidates are turning to something other than television? I thought television was still the most important medium in all the world for nearly everything.
Well, television continues to be the most important medium for political advertising. In the story in the New York Times today, didn't quite get it right. It's not that candidates are moving away from television. They're putting new emphasis on voter mobilization, on phones, on mail, on door-to-door contact to get out the vote. Because one thing that both parties have learned in recent years, it's not just a matter of persuading people on TV, it's also a matter of identifying support and turning them out on election day that wins tough races.
John, do you agree with Ron Forshot?
I certainly do. Yeah, I was surprised by the story myself. I think a good case in point is the 1996 AFL-CIO. They spent $35 million on television and found that they were realizing a point of diminishing returns with the message. In '98 and 2000, they were much smarter. They still used TV and a lot of it, but more importantly, they did the voter mobilization work, the telephone work. I don't see a diminution in spending on television at all. In fact, if anything, it's probably increasing a little bit and being spread out, to all the various cable buys, which are now tantamount to buying radio and targeting demographics. But as Ron points out, the telephone work is absolutely critical.
Along with the telephone work, we've heard a great deal of discussion, gentlemen, about grassroots, obviously just being made irrelevant by television, the power of media in candidates moving their messages to the voters. Is there any shift really in that basic trend?
Well, I think there has been a trend towards more understanding that grassroots mobilization is important. As voter turnout goes down, the ability to manipulate turnout and to be able to win elections by getting more of your people to turn out on election day than the other side, regardless of where public opinion breaks, becomes that much more important. Groups like the National Rifle Association, as John said, organized labor, have learned that the power of grassroots mobilization, of getting their people to the polls, of getting partisans to the polls, is the other part of the persuasive campaign message that you have to do in a campaign now.
Let me ask you both, the most surprising, interesting development you've seen since this week in the campaigns for these offices all over the country. Have there been any?
Well, for me, I think the most obvious is the attempt by the White House to get Iraq on the agenda, to talk about war, to try to tie up Congress for the next 2 or 3 weeks debating whether or not we should go to war. And I think of a very clear effort on their part to divert attention away from the economy, prescription drugs, and the things that voters are telling us in polls that really matter the most to them. I think Congress will be tied up, and I think there obviously is going to be this debate, but I think it remains to be seen as to whether or not people's attention are going to be diverted away from the issues that they really care about.
Ron?
Well, I think from a less global perspective, looking at some of the state elections going on around the country, I think one of the most interesting things has been the gubernatorial primary in the state of Florida. Most people expected Janet Reno, the former Attorney General, to win the Democratic nomination and then to get beat by Governor Jeb Bush. But what's happened in recent weeks is that Bill McBride, Janet Reno's opponent in the primary, has surged up. And if he wins the Democratic nomination on Tuesday, that general election in Florida in November could be quite a hot contest.
I know both of you have resisted the idea of forecasting elections that are both disparate, quite unique, and 2 months away. But let me ask you this. What do you think will be the most important? I've heard you both say that the economy is fundamental to voters' attitudes and moods and likely will influence their votes. But is there anything going on in terms of the demographics of the country that you think will be a strong and principal influence on these elections?
Well, clearly, the Latino vote. The Latino vote is not only increasing, but it's increasing in clumps, and increasing in clumps all over the country. And it becomes a little bit more difficult to see that and to poll it and to actually know on Election Day how many there are going to be. African American turnouts have been higher than normal of late as well. These are the two key demographics that I'm going to be looking at.
And Ron, you get the last word.
Well, I think the big demographic thing in this election is going to be what we started talking about, turnout, identifying voter groups that are good, reliable turnout indicators for both parties, and I think you'll see both of them doing what they can to alter the composition of the electorate.
Ron Fouché, John Zogby, gentlemen, thank you. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Coming up next, an assassin targets the president of Afghanistan. 2 bombs go off in the Afghan capital. We'll have the latest for you. The United States is trying to line up allies for a possible military campaign against Iraq. We will report to you what Saddam Hussein is doing to marshal his support. And the flag that symbolized America's determination to recover from September 11th is missing. That story, a great deal more, still ahead. Stay with us.
Tired of playing the mortgage rate game? You know, when you hear one of those ads that promise you the moon and you call up only to find out that the points are too high and there are hidden fees attached? Well, at ditech.com, there are no games. Right now, we're offering a second mortgage with a no closing cost option. You can be pre-qualified over the telephone or online. Use the money to pay off credit cards or for home improvements, whatever you want. Do it now before the rates go up. ditech.com. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Consider this. New Shell gasoline is specially formulated to help prevent deposits in your engine. And a clean engine performs better. Is it any wonder then why so many drivers choose Shell?
Lost your passport? We'll help you replace it 24/7. When you carry American Express traveler's checks, so you can get back to your vacation.
I used to worry about money. Then I got Brown. Brown helps me figure it all out. Brown manages my inventory, fills my orders, then ships them to retailers anywhere. And here's the cool part. It saves me money, so I have the cash to keep my business growing and my people stoked. They're stoked.
Order fulfillment, distribution, one company. UPS. What can Brown do for you?
Visit Western.com, member of Starwood Preferred Guest.
2 separate attacks in Afghanistan today, underlining a central theme. Afghanistan remains an extremely violent place with an uncertain political future. The president of Afghanistan survived an assassination attempt in Kandahar, and 1 U.S. soldier was injured in that attack. 300 miles away, a massive car bomb exploded in the capital of Kabul. 15 people were killed. Christiane Amanpour reports from Kabul.
Lou, the U.S. immediately announced that it would airlift Hamid Karzai back from Kandahar to Kabul after the assassination attempt earlier this afternoon. Karzai was down in Kandahar for his brother's wedding. He had been visiting with the governor of Kandahar. When both of them came out of the governor's mansion, a uniformed man started firing. A bullet apparently grazed Hamid Karzai's friend and colleague, the governor of Kandahar, who was wounded, but Karzai himself was unscathed. Karzai is protected by U.S. Special Forces bodyguards. There was a shootout, the gunman was killed, and so was one of Hamid Karzai's Afghan bodyguards. This happened just after a massive explosion rocked the capital, Kabul. A car bomb went off in a busy commercial district, injuring scores of people and perhaps killing as many as 10 to 15, according to authorities here. No one is quite sure who set off these explosions or who was responsible for the attempt on Karzai's life. But officials here are saying that they have no doubt that this is the work of Al-Qaeda and Taliban remnants. And authorities here had said that they were on alert and had asked others to be on alert for such incidents in the run-up to the anniversary of September 11th. Lou?
Christiane Amanpour. The families of some of the people killed on September 11th are accusing Iraq of conspiring with the terrorists. A lawsuit claims Iraq knew of Osama bin Laden's plans for attacks against New York and Washington. The plaintiffs seek more than $1 trillion in damages. Coalition aircraft today attacked an Iraqi Air Defense Control Center. Central Command said the Iraqi facility was located southwest of Baghdad. U.S. military officials say the attack was in response to hostile acts against coalition aircraft. This was the 35th strike by U.S. and British aircraft in the northern and southern no-fly zones this year. The Secretary General of the Arab League today said a war between the United States and Iraq would, in his words, quote, open the gates of hell, end quote, in the Middle East. His comments raise the possibility that Iraq may win the support of other countries should a military conflict begin. Kitty Pilgrim reports.
In the last 2 weeks, Iraq has sent envoys to Lebanon, China, and Russia. Those visits have resounded with strongly worded warnings against any American attack, and China issued a statement of friendship with Iraq. At a 2-day meeting in Cairo, members of the Arab League issued a dire warning about, quote, opening the gates of hell, unquote, in the region if there is a war. That statement was followed by this explanation.
Everybody in the Middle East and beyond is angry and frustrated and cannot accept what is going on in the occupied Palestinian territories, in the Palestinian occupied territories. Therefore, an action against Iraq with the general opposition in the world, wide opposition to such an action, I believe would lead to serious repercussions in this region and perhaps beyond.
Those with vast experience in the region say 22 members of the Arab League could put the pressure on the United States through oil if they chose.
If they moved as a bloc, it could be done without leaving perhaps too many fingerprints as they moved, but it could be very damaging if they chose to not, for instance, not to raise their production at the moment when Iraqi production would be cut off in a state of war.
Murphy and others think Iran could be a potential ally of Iraq in the event of conflict. Named as one of the axis of evil countries, along with North Korea, in the president's landmark speech. And according to the defense publication Jane's, Iraq has been able to smuggle in some spare parts to keep some aircraft in operation. It was reported in 2001, for instance, that spare parts for MiG-29s were being procured from North Korea. Now, not many countries look forward to having to choose sides between the United States and Iraq. That's why the world chorus keeps calling for the UN as the forum for this issue to be solved. Lou?
Okay, thank you. Well, Palestinian officials say Israeli helicopters fired 5 missiles at a workshop located near Palestinian police headquarters in Gaza City tonight. There are no reports of any casualties. That airstrike followed Palestinian attacks in Gaza earlier in the day. In those attacks, 2 Israeli soldiers were killed. Also today, Israeli border police helped avoid a possible terrorist attack when they detonated a car packed with a bomb in a car packed with 1,300 pounds of explosives. No one was injured. Still ahead here. Hedge funds are growing in size and influence. Critics say they, in fact, have far too much power in what is now an extraordinarily volatile market. We'll have a special report for you on this concerning issue. Stock prices, speaking of concerns, tumble on worries about the economy and a possible conflict with Iraq. We'll have details of today's sell-off in the Battle of the Sexes, focusing on Augusta National Golf Club. The leader of the National Council of Women's Organizations will be here to tell us why this is an important issue for her organization and for women. And later in the broadcast, I'll offer a few thoughts of my own on this issue. Stay with us.
Everybody wants to retire, but who can predict the market?
It's scary.
What if Social Security isn't enough?
Oh, you're kidding, right?
What if interest rates fall?
It's so complicated.
Retirement raises a lot of questions.
Where am I going to get that kind of money? How much?
How much?
I am not ready for this. That's a lot of money.
Now GE Financial has a way to help. It's a simple new way to provide for your retirement called GE Retirement Answer, a variable annuity. Call your financial representative or 1-800-THINK-GE and say you want an answer. The GE Retirement Answer.
Introducing the all-new E-Class. You may never want to leave it.
The Market is sponsored by Genuity, managed internet services to keep your network secure. Log on to money.com/markets to stay on top of all the stock market action.
Yeah, the network's switching over now.
Network, what's going on?
Let's take a look, shall we?
The phone lines are down.
Voice. You take over.
Switching to data. 3, 2.
Got it. Want to keep your business up and running? Genuity's Black Rocket combines voice and data on a single secure network. Genuity.
Two characteristics of this bear market: down and volatile. Investors are increasingly pointing to hedge funds as a source of much of that volatility. There is rising criticism of hedge funds, which are largely unregulated and exempt from the latest reforms. Peter Viles has our report.
There has been no shortage of villains for investors this summer. Crooked executives deserve blame. But what about hedge funds? Grumbling about hedge funds is growing louder by the day. One accusation, they're creating volatility that scares off already skittish long-term investors. Thursday, influential columnist Bill Sapphire wrote, "Beware the hedgehogs." Even more influential bond guru Bill Gross complained about, quote, the growing power of hedge funds and their willingness to play fast and loose with the solvency of struggling companies. And even more influential, SEC Chairman Harvey Pitt is doing something about it, an investigation.
Our goal is to determine whether the present state of regulation, or perhaps more accurately, the lack thereof, is in the public interest.
Hedge funds are certainly growing in value, and market volatility did spike recently. This is the VIX index of volatility. But are hedge funds to blame? Are they even capable of moving the market?
Right now there is about $500 billion in hedge funds, and that's a nominal value. So if you add leverage to it, it's much more. And some of the research that we've read is saying that hedge funds are pretty much on their way to $1 trillion. And that's a lot more capital at work than there was a couple of years ago.
Charles Gradante advises hedge fund investors and is growing tired of the hedge fund bashing.
It's a misconception. Hedge funds are not the big bad boys of this bear market. They're not in control of this market. In fact, they are flat to down in performance. If they were in control of this market, they would be up 15, 20%.
The SEC is also concerned about a more subtle issue, the potential conflicts when companies want to offer both hedge funds and mutual funds to investors. Hedge funds generally produce much higher fees, so the SEC is looking at exactly how hedge funds are being marketed to investors. Lou?
The idea of regulating these hedge funds, though, seems to be an idea whose time has come.
Yeah, some regulations probably need, particularly on the fee side. If people are being pushed into these as a way to make more money, they ought to know that a lot of the profits do go back to the managers. At the same time, there's a lot of grumbling about rumor mongering, talking down stocks. It's your right to talk down your position, talk up your position. Some at the SEC told us we can't stop trash talking.
Well, one hopes that this volatility will turn to the upside, and then we'll be less concerned about volatility.
Sure, volatility, the upside's great for all of us.
Pete, thanks. Peter Viles. A sell-off on Wall Street today erased yesterday's gains. $160 billion of market cap wiped out today. The Dow Jones Industrials today fell 141 points. The Nasdaq dropped 41 points, losing more than 3% on the day. The S&P 500 down 14 points. Let's go to Christine Romans at the big board. Greg Clarkin at the Nasdaq market site. Christine.
Well, Lou, 3 days so far in September, 3 triple-digit moves. Today, a sell-off and the lowest close in a month. One problem, consumer spending. Walmart fell 4% and Target tumbled on weaker than expected August sales. Financial stocks also weak. Goldman Sachs hammered as Congress widens its Wall Street probe. Transports tumbled 5%. CSX slammed by downgrades after it cut third-quarter targets. It cited weak coal demand from utility customers. But Procter & Gamble rallied. It raised targets for the fourth quarter in a row. That stock, Lou, is up 23% over the past year. Now to the NASDAQ and Greg.
And Christine, after the bell, Intel doing pretty much as was expected. It scaled back its revenue forecast. Now, the mere prospects of that move have been hanging over the stock for days. Today, Intel shares were down 6%, but they are regaining some of that lost ground in after-hours trading. Concord, a company that processes electronic transactions, its stock was the most actively traded on the issue, most actively traded issue on the NASDAQ today, losing 24% of its value. That after the company saying its numbers will be weak. And telecom equipment company Tel Labs warning as well. That stock down 9%. Oracle, Microsoft among the big cap losers today. So with today's loss, this week alone, 3 trading sessions, the NASDAQ down almost 5%. Lou?
Thank you very much, Greg. Greg Clarkin from the NASDAQ. It is one of the biggest controversies the world of golf has ever had to contend with. The National Council of Women's Organizations is demanding that the exclusive, to say the very least exclusive, Augusta National Golf Club, the home of the Masters, open its doors to women. The club's chairman, Hootie Johnson, says he will not bow to their pressure. But as a result of the publicity, the Masters has told its television sponsors that they won't be required next year, and the Women's Council is now threatening to apply pressure to companies whose CEOs are Augusta members. Joining me now with more is the chair of the National Council of Women's Organizations, Dr. Martha Burke. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Now, why are you picking on these nice people down in Georgia?
These poor old boys, I know, Lou, it's really sad. We think that it's time for them to come into the real world here. This is the most high-profile sporting event on the planet, certainly in golf. A club that bars women in the 21st century is just creating a problem for its members, for golf, and certainly for women.
You're creating the problem. They just gave you the opportunity.
Actually, I wrote him a private letter, and I said, why don't you reconsider these policies so that it doesn't become an issue? And he went ballistic in the press.
Well, you know, you can sort of see his point. It's an exclusive private club. It has its own, it has a right to decide who its members will be. A lot of men who want to be members certainly can't join, and their rules about invitations to memberships are somewhat arcane.
It's not that they can't join because of their gender. But let me say, yeah, it's a private club. Legally, they can do this.
Right.
Our quarrel is with the publicly held corporations that market to women, want women as customers, and on the other hand, their CEOs are a member of a club that excludes the very women that they are seeking to sell to. And we think there's a standard there that's a little bit like a double standard. It's okay to underwrite discrimination in this way, but on the other hand, I want you girls to come spend your money at my company.
Well, now they would never use the girls expression, I am sure.
Well, they probably would.
I did a little survey here with. Well, I'll be honest with you. I had a survey with my wife and my daughters. I also talked with the women who comprise the staff here of this broadcast. And I said, "What are the issues here to you? How important are they?" To a person, they said the issues were really not interesting to them at all. And the fact is, in every case, they were more interested in your council doing work with other issues that they felt were more important to women.
And our council does do work with those issues: the glass ceiling, pay equity, equal opportunity in employment, equal promotion. And you know, this golf thing ties in there, because if you as a man can spend 4 hours on the course, a beautiful course, with your client, and I've got to wait outside the gate to try to get a shot at selling my product to that same client because I'm barred on account of my gender, that's a problem, and it's a real problem for business women.
Well, at Augusta, as you know, Dr. Burke, there'd be a lot of folks waiting to get on that course if that was the way in which they operated.
Sure, there would be, Lou, but this is bigger than just Augusta. It is symbolic of the kind of discrimination that women face in the workplace, on the golf course, in many other venues. And I don't know about your small survey, but I know my mail is running very, very strong. This just makes women mad. It reminds them of all the ways they're shut out.
Well, why don't you know, golf is supposed to be fun. There are big issues. We've got a third of the women the babies in this country being born out of wedlock. We've got glass ceiling issues, as you say, although women have made extraordinary strides in equal
We're
pay.
now 7% of the boardrooms and 75% on the pay scale.
And if you look at the way women are progressing in the professions, whether it be medicine or law, it's extraordinary. They comprise over 60% of the workforce. There are huge issues. I want to know what's gone in your mind that said you've got to go after this fellow Hootie Johnson and those folks down at Augusta to make this. Is this a media play?
No, it is not. I did not go to the media. I did not go to the media. Augusta National went to the media. I offered to have a private conversation with him, and he characterized it as a request for a secret meeting. So no, I did not go to the media. That he did that to himself.
Here's a solution.
Why is this important, Lou? I want to answer that.
Sure.
Again, it is symbolic of all the kinds of discrimination that are still taking place. And I don't think you'd be asking me these questions if this was 12 years ago about Shoal Creek Golf Club that was keeping out African Americans. I really don't think you'd be asking me why is this so important. And we got a press release today from the NAACP in solidarity with us. And they did say in that press release that pressure in the marketplace has always been an effective way to fight discrimination.
Well, you know, I think you're exactly right. I don't know that I would be asking in that case, but when I look at the other issues that are important, and women are hardly a minority in this country, as you well know, the issue, it's almost, golf should be taken in one light. It is, you know, as important as it is to me, it's still a trivial pursuit. And it just seems like there's so many more important issues for your organizations.
Lou, we work on all of those. We're working so hard to stop privatization of Social Security. That's going to be very bad for women. The bankruptcy bill that's on the Hill right now will be damaging to women if it passes. We are working on that.
Well,
Our
you know what,
group's got family and medical leave passed, so don't say we don't work on these important issues.
I didn't say you didn't. I just said it seemed like a little more energy could be devoted to that and a little less to golf, which
Well, if Hootie wouldn't keep me in front of the cameras, I think you'd be right.
Well, you know what? The other thing is I've got to be just real honest with you. It forced me to take a look at the issue and kind of figure out where I come down on it. And I'm going to kind of discuss that at the end of the broadcast on my commentary.
Thanks so much, Lou.
Dr. Burke, good to have you with us. Now you just make up with Hootie and be nice to all the golfers.
I'm a nice lady.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Burke. Still ahead here, television news host Jim Lehrer will join the Dobbs list with a novel set in the Civil War. He is my guest next here. Stay with us.
Consider this. New Shell gasoline is specially formulated to help prevent deposits in your engine. And a clean engine performs better. Is it any wonder, then, why so many drivers choose Shell?
Today, when a small business decides to expand, they're not just thinking about across the street. Because small business is about finding new ways to grow. We've created a new way to help. Open, the Small Business Network. New tools, services, and savings for a small business economy. From American Express.
Too many high-interest monthly payments? Why not pay them off with a second mortgage with a no closing cost option from Ditech.com? Apply online now or call us at 1-800-71-FIX. And there is no equity required. Ditech Second Mortgage with a no closing cost option can help you to consolidate your high-interest debts into one low monthly payment. Ditech.com, your 24/7 mortgage solution. Apply online or call us at 1-800-71-FIX.
Afghanistan, at the center of the world's attention. Go deep inside a nation where the Taliban ruled with absolute power. One woman risked her life to expose the shocking truth. CNN presents the Emmy-nominated Beneath the Veil, Saturday, 8 Eastern, only on CNN.
A new addition tonight to the Dobbs list, the book called No Certain Rest. It's a fascinating book that combines 20th century technology, a 150-year-old mystery. It even brings in the Civil War and some archaeology. And it is written by Jim Lehrer of PBS, and you may be surprised. I knew Jim was a terrific writer. I didn't realize this is his 13th novel. This book is every bit as entertaining as any you could pick up, and I commend it to you, and that's why I put it on the Dobbs list. Jim Lehrer joins us now from Washington. Jim, good to have you with us.
Hey, Lou. Terrific to be here. Thank you.
The book is fascinating, and as I said, I had no idea that you had written 13 novels. That's remarkable.
Well, the remarkable thing is, or the unfortunate thing is, that you didn't know that.
Well,
See, you're not the only one who didn't know.
Well, I've read a few, and I think this is terrific. I'm partial to mysteries and thrillers to begin with, but in the context of putting in some archaeology and some Civil War, you've got all the components.
Well, I love the idea that we are affected by what came before us, and that's this is a modern-day detective story in a way, but it grows out of what happened on the Battle of Antietam in 1862. I love those connectors, and that's what fascinates me.
The connectivity, the mystery. How did the idea come to you, if I may ask that? I want to be careful because we can give away some things.
Sure. No, my wife Kate and I have a house up in the panhandle of West Virginia, 20 minutes from the battlefield at Antietam. We go over there to walk and all of that, and one day that battlefield started talking to me, and I wondered what had happened on there. One thing led to another, and I thought, what would happen if they found the remains of a Union soldier right now, and let's say there was some mysterious thing about his skeletal remains, and so one thing led to another, and the novel came.
Well, I can't have you here, Jim, without asking you, is this primarily diversion from what you and I do each day, that is, deal with a very real world and very real facts?
Well, it may have been at one time, but it's an integral part of my life now. As you said, I've written 13 of these things. I do a little of this every day, Lou. That's the only way I can do it, because I'm doing the same kind of work you're doing. I can't wait. If I wanted to, I can't go away for 6 months and for the wind to come right into the house the right way and all of that, and then say I'm going to write a novel. So I have to do a little bit every day. It's something I don't even think about anymore. I just do it. And it's just as I eat lunch and all the other things I do every day.
Well, a terrific book. You make the rest of us feel like slackers. I can't have you here without asking you for one thing. As you cover this world of ours, and it's becoming more, to me at least, increasingly complex and intriguing. Give us your sense tonight of where you sense the country is, how you're feeling right now about the events that are capturing our lives.
Well, you know, I think that the year anniversary of 9/11 and the oncoming debate on, and we're just beginning the debate about Iraq, I think we could look back on this particular time, the 1 year anniversary, as a memorable time, because I think the American people, you may disagree with me on this, but I sense the American people are ready to get serious. They now understand that we are connected in all kinds of ways to all kinds of people, good and evil, and they're ready to talk about it. They're ready to entertain ideas that they may not have been up till now. And I'm very hopeful that you and I and others who have access to these things on our ties and our coats will now bring people together, and let's talk about all of this. And I'm very hopeful about where we are with our country right now. People want to know, and they want to talk, they want to debate, they want to hear others talk and debate as well.
Well, I concur, and I thank you for the eloquent expression of optimism, Jim Lehrer, and I also thank you for No Certain Rest, the 13th book, and it's an absolute delight, and we commend it to all of you. It's on the Dobbs list. Jim Lehrer, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou.
Coming up next year, I'll share with you my thoughts on the National Council of Women's Organizations fight with the Augusta National Golf Club, and we'll have your thoughts as well. Stay with us.
The Dobbs list is available at Barnes & Noble stores nationwide and online at barnesandnoble.com.
Behind the headlines are real people with extraordinary stories. One journalist takes you there. Connie Chung, tonight 8 Eastern, only on CNN.
Ray Reese Volkswagen of Portland. Portland's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. Zero down delivers any Volkswagen in stock. Every 2002 Jetta in stock. Portland's largest selection. Every 2002 new Beetle in stock. Portland's lowest prices. Every 2002 Passat in stock. There can only be one leader. Ray Reese Volkswagen of Portland. 122nd and Burnside. Drivers wanted.
We want your child's education to soar with a chance for you to win a $26,000 scholarship. Enter Disney Channel's Playhouse Disney A to Z sweepstakes and you could win $26,000 for all 26 letters in the alphabet just for your child. One local winner will also receive a $2,600 scholarship. Enter Disney Channel's Playhouse Disney A to Z sweepstakes and let the learning begin. Here's how.
Go to your neighborhood high school pharmacy today and enter to win a $2,600 scholarship for your child, grandchild, niece, or nephew.
What makes CMT's Most Wanted Live can't miss country? Can't miss the Dixie Chicks making history again. Can't miss Willie pulling another song out of that old guitar. Can't miss Faith's sweet smile and Tim doing it his way. Most Wanted Live, Tuesdays through Saturdays at 7. It's Can't Miss Country, only on CMT.
Hi, I'm Greg Martin.
And I'm Katie Cook from CMT Most Wanted Live.
Check out our show on CMT, available on AT&T Broadband.
In the golf world, plenty of things change. But greatness always stays the same. The Safeway Classic, presented by Pepsi. September 13th to the 15th at Columbia Edgewater. Get in free with your Safeway Club card. Enjoy great golf, the Safeway Vendor Village, and the 19th Hole Beer and Wine Pavilion. It's an incredible field, and Nancy Lopez's final tour event will be a classic. The Safeway Classic. It's time to take a bow.
This is CNN. This is CNN.
Crossfire begins in just a few minutes. Let's go to Paul Begala and Robert Novak. Gentlemen.
Well, Lou, one of the interesting things, actually, that unites some on the right and the left is skepticism toward a potential war with Iraq. Bob Novak and I both have interesting questions to ask for one congressional hawk who's looking forward to a debate about a war in Iraq.
And Lou, the Senate Democrats did it again. They killed the nomination for a judgeship of a highly qualified nominee, this time a woman, not because she wasn't qualified, but because they don't agree with her. And we also have back that gentleman who tried to get under God taken out of the Pledge of Allegiance. He's now back trying to get God and the prayers removed from the Congress of the United States. And if anybody needs God, it's Congress.
Bless you for saying that, Bob. Gentlemen, we look forward to it. Thank you very much. Still ahead, your thoughts on the Earth Summit in South Africa, my thoughts on golf and women. Stay with us.
Closed captioning for selected programs provided by the Invention Submission Corporation.
Inventors, Invention Submission Corporation can help you try to patent your idea and submit it to companies.
Call 1-888-778-IDEA for free information.
Visit Weston.com, member of Starwood Preferred Guest.
Introducing the all-new E-Class. You may never want to leave it.
Next time you're on the road and you need to fill your tank, here's something to consider. New Shell gasoline is specially formulated to help prevent deposit buildup in your engine, which helps keep it clean. And a clean engine performs better, which is why when they're looking for more from their gasoline, so many drivers choose Shell.
Everybody wants to retire, but who can predict the market?
It's scary.
What if Social Security isn't enough?
Oh, you're kidding, right?
What if interest rates fall?
It's so complicated.
Retirement raises a lot of questions.
Where am I going to get that kind of money?
How much?
How much?
I am not ready for this. That's a lot of money.
Now GE Financial has a way to help. It's a simple new way to provide for your retirement. Call GE Retirement Answer, a variable annuity. Call your financial representative or 1-800-THINK-GE and say you want an answer. The GE Retirement Answer.
The Dobbs Report is brought to you by GE Financial. Look for GE Financial's retirement sweepstakes at money.com/retirement.
I've been trying to figure out where I stand on the National Council of Women's Organization's big media fight with the Augusta National Golf Club. I find myself both fascinated and annoyed by the whole thing between Martha Burke and Hootie Johnson. Now, I'm seldom neutral on any issue, but I finally come down with a decision. I've come down against the Women's Council, which should, in my opinion, be far more concerned with the fact that 1/3 of all babies in this country are being born out of wedlock. I've also come down against Augusta, which should just acquiesce to reality and understand that, as Chekhov once said, if there be emancipation at all, let there be equity in all things. The council can then get back to important work, and Augusta can get back to important fun and golf. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm married more than 2 decades now to a lovely, bright woman who can, on extremely rare occasions, beat me at golf. And when she does so, it's with, I have to tell you, great gusto and very little grace. At those times, I assure you, I'm not a big fan of equity between the sexes. Both of my sons beat me like a drum, and I'm sure soon my 2 teenage daughters will join the boys in the humiliate dad on the course circle. I love golf and will play anywhere, anytime, so long as I can play with people who are good company in good humor. The nice folks at Golf Digest this month, in fact, were good enough to feature my precision putting in their magazine, presumably in part as instruction to their readers on how not to putt. The point is, I'm pro-golf. I've even been fortunate enough to play Augusta. I have friends who are members of Augusta. They're all good guys. Hootie and Augusta have every right to be the most exclusive club in golf, but they have no right to be exclusionary. And now, I'm about ready to go home to my wife and daughters. Now for a look at your thoughts. On the jeering that greeted Secretary of State Colin Powell at the Earth Summit in South Africa, Simon Turner of Virginia wrote in to say, "It is hard to know whether to laugh at the posturing antics and hypocrisy of the African leaders represented or to cry for their people." And we have a letter from Jonathan Smith from Johannesburg, South Africa, who wrote, "Most South Africans do not support the bad treatment that Mr. Powell received at the Earth Summit in Johannesburg. Many of us were ashamed of the undisciplined way some of the protesters reacted to Secretary Powell. It is also strange to note that when Secretary Powell announced a further $5 billion of aid for Africa, the boos turned to applause. Sad, isn't it?" On Iraq, Gilda Grossman from California wrote in to ask, "Why does no one bring up the Gulf of Tonkin and the warnings of General Eisenhower at this time?" Many of you wrote in response to my interview last night with U.S. News and World Report columnist John Leo. Leo had criticized the National Education Association's guidelines not to say who is responsible for the September 11th attacks. Eric Vogelstein in Boulder, Colorado wrote in to say, "It seems that John Leo has misunderstood the reason why teachers have been encouraged not to blame specific groups of people for 9/11. It is not merely political correctness or fear of hurting people's feelings. Rather, it is to avoid teaching children to stereotype." Vogelstein says school children are not intellectually sophisticated enough to understand the difference between radical Islamists and Islamic people. He says until we can be confident that children would recognize the importance of that distinction, we should not teach them to blame groups of people. I personally couldn't disagree more. Cliff Rhodes of Ormond Beach, Florida wrote in to say, "My wife is a dedicated teacher of a class where every child has a learning disability. She is a union member and dedicated professional who is terribly underpaid. It's funny, I don't see any union members cooking the books and running away with the cookie jar, but corporate CEOs who despise unions are stealing us blind." As always, we want to hear from you. Our email address is moneyline@cnn.com. We ask that you include your name and address. Now from your words to in their words.
A handful of senators distorted her record. A handful of senators acting out of pure politics did not let this good woman's name go forward. The United States Senate must act in better stead. This is treating a fine woman this way is bad for the country. It's bad for our bench. And I don't appreciate it one bit.
I don't think she was qualified, no. I think that she had a very significant problem with regard to the circumstances of interpreting the laws that I think are are very serious.
People could say the same thing, that money is being wasted about any adventure or space endeavor. But in fact, adventure and achievement are very important in our civilization, in our culture, to try to do things, whether it was trying to go to the moon or, in my case, trying to fly around the world solo. And I think these are important endeavors.
Or sometimes just plain fun. That's Moneyline for this Thursday evening. Thanks for being with us. For all of us here, good night from New York.
Crossfire. On the left, James Carville and Paul Begala. On the right, Robert Novak and Tucker Carlson. In the Crossfire tonight, can the Bush administration sell a war with Iraq?
That the world cannot allow the world's worst leaders to hold America blackmail, to threaten America, to threaten our peace, and threaten our friends and allies with the world's worst weapons.
But in the U.S. and overseas, some people aren't buying.
We believe that it will open the gates of hell in the Middle East.
He went after the Pledge of Allegiance. Now he's taking on Congress.
Amen.
In the Crossfire, a man who seems committed to getting rid of God, one lawsuit at a time. And there goes the judge. Here come the critics.
I must say I'm shocked. There's no basis for this vote, none whatsoever.
Ahead on Crossfire. From the George Washington University, Paul Begala and Robert Novak.
Welcome to Crossfire. Tonight, the atheist who wants Congress to stop praying. Also, Senate Democrats lower the standard for mean-spirited partisanship. But first, the news that meets our high standards for the best political briefing on television. Here comes the Crossfire Political Alert. Will miracles never cease? Senator Tom Daschle, the Democratic Majority Leader, had a good word to say about Dick Cheney. The Vice President came up to Capitol Hill today with CIA Director George Tenet to brief the 4 top bipartisan leaders of Congress about Iraq, fulfilling President Bush's new promise to keep Congress informed. It was, said Senator Daschle, a very helpful briefing. He said many of his questions were answered. The Democratic formula is to blast away at Dick Cheney whenever possible. But Daschle forgot politics when it came down to a matter of war or peace.
Good for Tom Daschle and good for Dick Cheney for going up there. I do think this should be beyond partisanship. Afghan President Hamid Karzai today survived an assassination attempt. The attack wounded the governor of Kandahar and a U.S. Special Forces soldier. U.S. forces then shot and killed the would-be assassin, and the Afghan president escaped unharmed. The situation in Afghanistan is so unsettled that Karzai recently replaced his Afghan bodyguards. Now U.S. troops protect him, and today they saved his life. Commanders of U.S. Special Forces have said that if President Bush decides to invade Iraq, those special forces will be required there and should be withdrawn from Afghanistan. Karzai's response, when translated roughly, was, "Hey, George, now that you've bombed my country, could you at least leave enough guys here to keep my ass alive?" That's a rough translation.
Just for the feeble-minded.
Yes.
He didn't actually say that.
Didn't actually. I made it up.
I knew you made it up. All right. The Democrats who control the Senate sent a clear message today. If you are really anti-abortion, don't expect to get confirmed for a major federal judgeship. In a strict party line vote, the Senate Judiciary Committee voted 10-9 against President Bush's nomination of Texas Supreme Court Justice Priscilla Owen to the 5th U.S. Court of Appeals in New York. Why? Judiciary Chairman Patrick Leahy called Justice Owen a right-wing ideologue. The real reason she was rejected? She opposes abortion.
But Bob, that's not true. I mean, she opposes abortion, but the Senate and the Democrats have confirmed 73 Bush nominees for the bench, almost all of them pro-life. For example, Levinsky Smith on the 8th Circuit was associated with the Rutherford Institute, a conservative and pro-life organization. In fact, signed on a brief to repeal Roe versus Wade. That's not the issue. Abortion was not the issue with her. We will debate it later, I promise you that. Well, America as we know, is vulnerable to al-Qaeda terrorist attacks. Iraq is developing weapons of mass destruction. War may be imminent. The economy is listless. And where is our president? After a month-long vacation and 2 whole days of work in the White House, he's out raising special interest money in Indiana for an advocate of privatizing Social Security named Chris Chocola. Why isn't our president in Washington leading the nation and the world to peace and prosperity the way Bill Clinton did, instead of out raising money for somebody called Chris Chocola? Chocola, whatever. Said Bush, hey, the dude's name reminds me of the cereal. You know Count Chocula, Congressman Chocula? Cool, huh? Okay, I made that one up too, but that's what he's thinking.
You made that up too, and you know, I think it is really interesting for a Clinton stooge to be criticizing a president for fundraising. Boy, that takes gall.
I've got all the gall you need.
A new survey just released by the Center for the Study of Popular Culture and by the American Enterprise Institute confirms something we all knew. Most college professors are Democrats. More than 90% of professors in the arts and sciences departments of prestigious Eastern colleges belong to the Democratic, Green, or other left-wing parties. Very few Republicans or Libertarians. Do you wonder that the kids coming out of college know so little and have such strange ideas? Come to think of it, isn't Paul Begala one of those Democratic professors?
I am at Georgetown University. Here at George Washington University, these are brilliant students here. I don't know if your professors are liberals or Democrats or Republicans, but they're smart. Well, headlining our Profiles in Hypocrisy report, President George W. Bush, the man who spent the summer decrying big spending from Congress, is now asking Congress to boost spending. The Wall Street Journal reports that Bush, who just a few weeks ago chastised the House Appropriations Committee for passing $700 million in emergency forest fire spending, is now asking for $825 million for the same emergency forest fire spending. White House aides say they're attempting to reach the folks at Arthur Andersen who cooked the books for Dick Cheney at Halliburton so that they will certify that $825 million is actually less than $700 million.
And of course you made that up too.
No, actually they're very close to Arthur Andersen.
It's very hard to tell what Paul makes up and what
it's called a joke.
If you
see,
yeah, this ain't Saturday Night Live, believe me. President Bush today added a section about Iraq to his usual stump speech. He told crowds to pay attention to the coming national debate. The president went on to say he will not let America be blackmailed by the world's worst leaders with the world's toughest weapons. Will Congress get the message? Stepping into the crossfire is California Republican Congressman Duncan Hunter. He is slated to become chairman of the Armed Services Committee in the next Congress.
Congressman, it's good of you to join us. I know you're busy and you came straight from Capitol Hill. There was an article recently, an op-ed, a column, by an influential foreign policy writer named Jim Hoagland in the Washington Post. And this is what he had to say about our president leading us into war. I'm going to put it up on the screen and read it to you. They, administration critics, do not think that George W. Bush and his divided administration are capable of implementing an orderly and successful military campaign in Iraq without inflicting major casualties and national damage to the United States. They don't think this president and his squabbling men are up to the job. The first thing to be said about this line of argument is that it is legitimate, important, and could even come to be correct. Is this president up to this job?
Oh, absolutely. And I think first, if you look at the Iraq question, I think we have to commend the quality of this administration in that this guy takes on the tough ones. The first tough one was the ABM treaty, and that was the treaty
the anti-ballistic missile treaty.
Yeah, that we agreed to with Russia that said we promised not to stop incoming ballistic missiles coming into U.S. cities, and the president took that one on. That was a tough one, had lots of critics. Work that out with the Russians, and here he's made a decision not to leave to future American generations the problem of a Saddam Hussein with a nuclear weapon. Now, we all know, if everybody's taken the classified briefings, and we're giving more, the Armed Services Committee has set some up now for Tuesday. We're going to start holding classified briefings on Tuesday for all members of Congress. But we know that this guy has a robust nuclear weapon development program. He's kicked the inspectors out. He's moving ahead. He's not going to stop. He's not going to voluntarily give them up. And in a couple of years, he's going to have a nuclear weapon. So the question becomes, do you want to have a guy who executed his son-in-laws, shoots people
Don't we all
on
want to do
camera,
that, though, at some level?
and killed 100,000 Kurds, is, I think, somewhat unstable, having a nuclear weapon at his under his control. The president decided not to put that on future generations. He's going to handle this tough one. I think he should be commended for that.
But the question, Congressman Hunter, is whether he does have these nuclear weapons. And I want you to...
well, he doesn't have them yet.
I want you to listen to something, or he's even developing them, and I want you to listen to something that the Secretary General of the Arab League, a substantial guy, former foreign minister of our friends, Egypt, Amr Moussa. Let's listen to what he said today.
For 4 years, we have no solid information about the situation in Iraq. Let them go back. Give us the necessary information about what is going on insofar as those weapons are concerned. War is a very, very serious proposition, and all of us have to try to avoid as much as we can any military action.
Now, doesn't that make sense, Congressman, that we send back the inspectors? If they don't cooperate, we say, okay, you had your chance, but before the blood is spilled, before the bombs fall, let's send these people back and see whether he does have nuclear weapons. A lot of people doesn't think he has made any progress at all.
Well, first, with respect to inspectors, you need to get the testimony of the UN inspectors that we had, and we would have a team of inspectors inspecting a particular city. And we would have weapons of mass destruction development going on nearby at a hidden location that Saddam Hussein wouldn't tell us about. We would have defectors come out, tell us about those. We would point that out. So that slipped my mind. I guess we might have something over there.
That isn't what Scott Ritter says.
Oh, absolutely. If you read the UNSCOM reports from the United Nations, they're replete with examples of deception by Saddam Hussein.
Why not send them back and give them a chance before the bombs fall?
For this reason. We have very reliable information, and we work on military information, and we have very reliable information that he is, when you develop a nuclear weapon, you have to do a series of things. You have to do machining of the warhead. You got to do the development of the conventional explosive that triggers the nuclear explosion. The regime in Iraq is moving ahead on all those components. I can tell you that from the briefings that I've had, they are moving ahead robustly with a nuclear weapon development program. Now I've seen that to my satisfaction. I've seen enough evidence to believe that in fact is occurring, and they're trying to get other things from other countries that have, like China, that have certain components that they need. You need not too much plutonium or enriched uranium to be able to build a nuclear weapon. When that happens, you can build it pretty fast. When we went in '91, after we captured a number of his facilities, our conclusion was, the United Nations conclusion was, that he was 18 to 24 months away from having a weapon. Now, many people argued in 1990...
That is disputed by several people.
But in 1991, we had people that said we should put sanctions on for 5 to 7 years. That would have been, I think, disastrous. Secondly, with respect to the military capability of doing this and the U.S. capability, Menachem Begin hit the Osirak reactor in Iraq in 1981. I believe one person was killed in that raid. That was, I believe, a French technician who came in on a Sunday to work in that particular place. That was 1981, 10 years before we invaded. If that hadn't happened, if that reactor hadn't been preempted, Iraq would have had the material to have built and constructed and fabricated nuclear systems.
Well, I actually believe that, but that's 21 years ago. So we've known for at least 21 years that he has or wants weapons of mass destruction.
We destroyed facilities in '91 when we went in.
I'm curious as to this change of heart in this administration. Was Iraq evil in 1998 when Dick Cheney's Halliburton was doing business there? Was Iraq just as evil last year when President Bush said we should have what he called smart sanctions?
Well, first, what I'm looking at is the capability of Iraq to hurt the United States.
But were they evil then when Cheney was doing business there, or Bush said sanctions were enough?
Well, certainly you've got Western companies, whether they're French, German, or American, that through technology transfer and going through other countries like China have contributed to the technological development of weapon systems in Iraq and lots of other places where we shouldn't do that. And we should, when we do the Export Administration Act, we should look very carefully at the security ramifications of the technology transfer that the United States engages in. That's not the question. The question is, are we going to leave to a future generation the capability of Iraq to utilize nuclear weapons, whether it's using for a purpose of foreign policy leverage or to hurt American troops in theater or hurt Americans. I don't think you want to have a Saddam Hussein with nuclear systems. And, you know, we're going to have...
I'm sorry to cut you off on that. We're going to take a break. We'll come back on this point because it is the most important point, Congressman Hunter. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're going to take a quick break. And in a minute, we're going to ask Congressman Hunter about how all this is playing with the American people. This is, after all, an election year coming up this November, right around the corner. Some cynical observers think that all this talk about war actually benefits the Republican Party. Later, the man who wants under God out of the pledge, he's got a new target. And our quote of the day. It comes from a man with some experience in settling problems in the Middle East and doing it peacefully. Stay with us.
Great. Another network problem.
Someone left the firewall door open again.
Was it me?
Access? I'm access, not security.
I thought security is everyone's problem.
Excuse me. Legacy.
You're not the boss of me.
Okay, good.
Hold on. Who are you guys?
We're vendors.
That's good.
Want a more secure network? At Genuity, we manage and monitor every inch of your network. Genuity.
Well, I wake up to a sky so blue with my girlfriend in the other room. Got the coffee on, pancakes done. I get sleeping outside in the sun.
American Leather introduces Style in Motion, a revolutionary development in seating design. Place it against the wall, no problem. Place it anywhere you want. It's Style in Motion, and it's from American Leather.
Well, it's a pretty good day. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
It's surprising how much you miss from 35,000 feet, especially this time of year. Can you hear the leaves of gold crunch beneath your feet? Feel the warmth of family, or show your old hometown to someone who's never seen it before. Get yourself down to ground level. That's where the memories live. There are over 4 million miles of roads in Alamo country, and with values like this, they're easy to explore. Alamo, the official rental car of the American vacation.
Behind the headlines are real people with extraordinary stories. One journalist takes you there. Connie Chung, tonight 8 Eastern, only on CNN.
The Lewis River Golf Course. 18 holes of some of the best golf holes you'll play here in the Great Northwest. Surrounded on the east and south by the beautiful Lewis River, a great salmon and steelhead river, by the way, the Lewis River Golf Course is well worth the trip. With its well-maintained greens and fairways and beautiful surroundings, you'll find this is one golf course you'll love to play again and again. Just 35 minutes north from either Columbia River Bridge. The Lewis River Golf Course, just 5 miles east of Woodland, Washington.
Meet Joe. He bought a new Ford from a low-price, high-pressure dealership. What does he have now? A new Ford he wished he'd bought somewhere else. Meet Jim. He buys on value. What does Jim have? A new Ford he's really glad he bought from Canby Ford. He got a great deal. They treated him with respect. No pressure, no wasted time, and the service department is award-winning. When you're looking for a great car or truck, you'll find it in a Ford. When you're looking for the absolute best value in the Valley, you'll find it at Canby Ford.
This is CNN.
Senate Minority Leader Trent Lott says there have already been meetings on the language of a resolution regarding Iraq. Lott says it could be voted on before the Senate adjourns. Perhaps coincidentally, a former Lott advisor who also advised Bill Clinton for a time argued today that talk of war before an election can only benefit the GOP. Well, we shall see. In the Crossfire is House Armed Services Committee Vice Chairman Duncan Hunter. Congressman Hunter, thanks for staying with us.
Well, good to be with you.
The Gallup poll, working for CNN USA Today, took a poll today and put it up on the screen and see what they found. They took a poll this week. Has President Bush done enough to explain why the U.S. might take action in Iraq? Yes, 39%. No, 58%. Do you agree with the American people, or do you disagree with the American people on that?
Well, you got two aspects here. One is they want to have as much information as possible. We want to get that to them, but we're going to embark on that in the Armed Services Committee. And the President asked us at the White House, he asked people in Foreign Affairs, in the Armed Services Committee, and the leadership, House and Senate, to take this issue on, have lots of hearings, look at the facts, and also produce facts. And
Has he done enough already to explain?
Well, he asked us to help him on that, and with respect to that, the Armed Services Committee is going to have the first hearings at 8:30 in the morning, Tuesday morning. We're going to duplicate those hearings in the afternoon. We're going to wait. We're going to make sure that every single member of Congress and most of the public that wants to watch sees as much of the facts as we can possibly show them. So the president has just embarked on this campaign to let the American people understand what he has to do and what he needs to do.
Interrupt you, but you're giving the president credit for your work, and you're doing your job as a congressman. You may be a Republican, but I respect how you're making your case.
But my point is, he asked us to do that. He didn't try to slip this one by. And my point is this: the president understands this is a new era of what I call terrorists with high technology. I think we're going to have to make this decision over and over. We're going to have times in the future when we see a small country or a group developing a nuclear device, because that technology's out there. We may see a Libya, for example, developing a nuclear device. The question for the United States is going to be, are we going to wait until they have the device fielded and then try to work with them or deal with them, or are we going to try to keep them from having the capability to build it in the first place? And I think we're going to have the question over and over. But Iraq is the first take on that question.
Isn't that a test of presidential leadership? For example, 1 year ago, September 11th, right, the whole world was on our side. Even Syria, even Libya, even Iran made steps to try to aid and help America. Today, no one stands with us except Israel and Great Britain. Well, it doesn't matter. A year ago, 90% of the people thought the president was doing a good job. Today, it's down to 61%.
Okay.
A year ago, Democrats and Republicans joined together to endorse the war in Afghanistan. Today, Bush can't even get his cabinet. Even his daddy's against this war. I mean, he can't even unite his own party or cabinet, much less our country. That's a collapse of presidential leadership, is it not?
No, it's not a collapse of leadership. And let me tell you, the president has embarked on this campaign to educate the American people. And what I am cognizant of, and I think everybody should reflect on, is the fact that in 1981, Menachem Begin saw Iraq building a nuclear reactor. He unilaterally went out and destroyed that nuclear reactor with an aircraft strike. That's the one that I talked about. The entire world, all the leaders of the Western world, openly condemned his action. Then they went behind closed doors and they breathed a sigh of relief. And 10 years later, when we had to go into Iraq, we were awfully glad that Saddam Hussein did not have that nuclear material. My point is, and I made this point to the president, sometimes doing the right thing is a lonely thing. I think we should have a coalition, but I think we should deprive him of this nuclear capability, regardless of how big this coalition is. On the other hand, I think it's going to be a pretty good sizable coalition. The British have come on fairly strongly with it.
We're almost out of time. You got to remember that Paul turns everything into an attack on George W. Bush.
Isn't that terrible?
Please bear that in mind.
Just when he collapses like this, when he's such an abject failure.
Collapses, he's moving.
I'm just speaking
a quick question for you. When will the House of Representatives actually vote on this resolution, do you think?
You know, I don't have a time schedule.
Give a
on that.
guess.
It'll be before the election.
I think it's going to be before we get out of town.
So that's before the election.
And I think the president is going to make his case. He's going to let the American people make the case. And Paul, if you've got these big numbers on the other side, then it shouldn't work to the advantage of Republicans.
And thank you very much, Duncan Hunter. Appreciate you being here. Hope
Great to be with you.
Thank you very much. Still to come, the atheist who's single-handedly trying to remake America in his own image. Later, congressional Democrats put their nasty stamp on the federal judiciary. Are they also trampling on the separation of powers? And our quote of the day comes from a long-time international meddler who usually offends me, but not this time.
There's a change in the air, and it's moving us into the future. It's what happens when you streamline routes and improve on-time performance. Some call it innovation. We call it Norfolk Southern.
They both worked hard. Took care of business, took care of their families. So why will one leave his loved ones with every advantage, while the other leaves everything to chance? Some people already know our financial representatives excel at a lot more than life insurance. Northwestern Mutual Financial Network. Are you there yet?
In Code Blue, life can change in a heartbeat. All your hospital's resources matter in that heartbeat. Hospitals face a critical shortage of workers. We care for America's uninsured and may spend billions on disaster readiness. 1/3 of hospitals are losing money, and it's only getting worse. Urge your senators to help our hospitals now, because in a heartbeat, that could make all the difference.
Consider this. New Shell gasoline is specially formulated to help prevent deposits in your engine. And a clean engine performs better. Is it any wonder then why so many drivers choose Shell?
Tonight on CNN Primetime at 8, Connie Chung takes you beyond the headlines to get the human side of the day's events on Connie Chung Tonight. Then, if they're in the news, they're on with Larry. Top newsmakers and celebrities join the King of Talk on Larry King Live at 9. And at 10, Newsnight with Aaron Brown gives its own unique look at what's happening here and around the world. Connie Chung, Larry King, Aaron Brown. Beginning at 8 Eastern, it's all part of CNN Primetime Tonight.
Welcome back to Crossfire. You know, former President Jimmy Carter is in many ways a model elder statesman. The former president has a deep dedication to human rights and to resolving international conflicts. And like the rest of us, he's been listening to the administration's talk of war and to the reaction here and abroad. An opinion column President Carter wrote for today's Washington Post contains our quote of the day. He wrote, "As has been emphasized vigorously by foreign allies and by responsible leaders of former administrations and incumbent office holders, there is no current danger to the United States from Baghdad." So saith Jimmy Carter.
You know, I am not a Jimmy Carter fan. That may come as a huge surprise to you. And I think he is a meddler and a bumbler. He said terrible things about Cuba. He was all wrong about Nicaragua. He's bad about North Korea. But he is absolutely right, in my opinion. There is no danger from Baghdad to the United States.
Wow. Well, you speak the truth when I admire that you're willing to praise a Democrat when you think he's right, Bob. I admire that.
Next, a terrorism alarm sounds at a U.S. chemical depot. Connie Chung will tell us why next in a CNN News Alert. Later, somebody who's ready to stand up to the atheist who's caused so much aggravation this year. And speaking of aggravation, Senate Democrats have just lowered the standard for playing politics with judges.
Consider this. New Shell gasoline is specially formulated to help prevent deposits in your engine. And a clean engine performs better. Is it any wonder then why so many drivers choose Shell?
If you listen, really listen, you can hear life all around you. Wonderful sounds of little things coming awake to greet the morn. Oh, joyous nature, harmonious in its Pella, viewed to be the best.
Your local Pella window and door store has quality replacement windows on sale now. Stop in today.
Fred, who knew one cup of coffee could do that much damage?
Fred, is a printer supposed to smoke like that?
Hey, Fred, I think I fried the motherboard and the fatherboard, too.
Dealing with technology is hard. That's why CDW makes buying it as simple as possible by having brand name technology products in stock so you can get what you need when you need it.
Fred, where are you going? My email's still down.
CDW, the right technology, right away.
Great. Credit card bill. Wonder what's in here this time.
Look at these fees!
One rate for purchases? A higher rate for cash advances? And those telemarketers!
Relax, we switched to Capital One's no hassle card.
Huh?
Capital One.
Get a Capital One no-hassle card. No balance transfer fees, no telemarketing. It's got the nation's lowest long-term fixed rate on everything from purchases to cash advances. Check your mailbox today for Capital One's no-hassle card offer with one low rate and none of the hassle.
Honey? You okay?
What's in your wallet? Join Carville, Begala, Carlson, and Novak in the Crossfire. For free tickets to the live Washington audience, call 202-994-8CNN or email us at cnn@gwu.edu. Now you can step into the Crossfire.
Hello, I'm Connie Chung at the CNN Broadcast Center in New York. Crossfire is back in 90 seconds, but first, these stories top our news alert. In Utah, normal routines are resuming after a terrorist alert today at a federal depot that stores nerve gas and other toxic chemicals. A report that someone jumped the fence brought operations to a stop as police swept the grounds. Authorities say the facility and the public were never in danger. In an overwhelming vote, the Senate has joined the House in permitting commercial airline pilots to fly with guns in the cockpit. Senate-House negotiators will have to reconcile differences in the bills. The White House is considering a test program allowing some pilots to carry guns. Israeli attack helicopters launched an assault in the Gaza Strip, firing missiles on a Palestinian workshop near a police station. The Israeli military hasn't said why the workshop was targeted. The strike follows 2 Palestinian attacks in Gaza that left 2 Israeli soldiers dead. The president of Afghanistan almost lost his life in an assassination attempt. A gunman wearing an Afghan military uniform fired at Hamid Karzai in Kandahar. Karzai was not hurt, but the Kandahar governor was grazed in the neck. 3 people, including the gunman, were shot dead. U.S. Special Ops troops provide security for Karzai, and one of them was slightly injured. And those are our top stories at this hour. I'll be back in 30 minutes. And now back to Paul and Bob, and welcome back, Robert.
Nice to be back, Connie. What do you have on your program tonight?
Well, when we come back, right at the top of the hour, we'll have more on that Pensacola, Florida trial of the 2 teenagers accused of killing their father. A jury has already heard the same charges against a family friend in that separate trial, and tonight I'll speak with a school official who can tell us more about these boys. Closing arguments were over today, and actually the jury will probably get the case very soon.
Connie, it's a heartbreaking story. We'll be watching your coverage of it tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Connie Chung, America's premier news anchor. Go ahead, your chance to fire back at us. Believe it or not, we've gotten an email from a liberal who's a big Bob Novak fan. Get that. Also, if it's so important to start every session of Congress with a prayer, why don't more lawmakers show up for it? But next, the Senate refuses to consent. Will the Butchies take its advice? Stay with us.
With their incredible power, sleek design, and affordable prices, Gateway's new computers are a great value. But now they're a better value than ever, because right now you can get free shipping with the purchase of select Gateway desktops. Call 1-800-GATEWAY for details.
How far will a small business go to reach new customers? All the way to cyberspace. Because small business is about working in new ways, we created a new way for them. Open, the Small Business Network. New tools, services and savings for a small business economy. From American Express.
Life needs the Caribbean. Call your travel agent or visit GoCaribbean.com.
Consider this. New Shell gasoline is specially formulated to help prevent deposits in your engine And a clean engine performs better. Is it any wonder, then, why so many drivers choose Shell?
You decided. No one else has it. Not Fox News, not MSNBC. In a respected survey, Americans chose CNN first for trust. CNN, the most trusted name in news.
September 11th, 2001. As part of CNN's coverage of the anniversary, take a look back through the eyes of the journalists who covered it and those who lived through this tragedy. America Remembers. Sunday, 7 Eastern, only on CNN.
Welcome back to Crossfire. We're coming to you live from the George Washington University here in beautiful downtown Washington, D.C. The United States Constitution gives the president the power to make judicial nominations to then confirm them with the advice and consent of the United States Senate. Well, today, the Senate Judiciary Committee did its job under the Constitution by refusing its consent to the nomination of right-wing Texas Judge Priscilla Owen for a seat on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. The vote was 10-9 along party lines with the Democrats in the majority. Now, since the Constitution doesn't require a president to like it when the Senate withholds consent, W decided to whine.
Treating a fine woman this way is bad for the country. It's bad for our bench. And I don't appreciate it one bit, and neither do the American people.
In the Crossfire to talk about the fight over judicial nominees, Ralph Nees of People for the American Way and former Florida Congressman Bill McCollum.
Ralph Nees, a lot of people would probably be puzzled why Judiciary Committee would reject Justice Owen, a fine record, very well qualified, tremendous in support from Texas. And the answer of why she was rejected comes from the former chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah. Let's listen to him.
Justice Owen is being opposed by an axis of profits. This axis of profits combines the money of trial lawyers and the abortion industry to fund the Washington special interest groups.
The trial lawyers and the abortion industry, that's a pair you can't beat in Washington poker, can you?
Bob, it's one of the most ridiculous statements I've ever heard Senator Orrin Hatch make. Today was a great victory for the American people because the Senate Judiciary Committee defeated a right-wing ideologue who would have turned back the clock on civil rights, consumer rights, the environment, and also reproductive rights and privacy.
Abortion wasn't around.
No, that's why I made this point. And really, the main point was that the committee proved with documentation that this nominee repeatedly, whenever her ideology clashed with the law, tried to change the law, remake the law. And the best witnesses, Bob, Alberto Gonzalez, counsel to President Bush.
That was a dissent. That was a dissent in
11 times, not once, not twice, 11 times he wrote, "You are trying to remake the law." And guess what? The Republican candidate for the Senate in Texas, John Cornyn, several times said the same thing. You're an activist.
That was in legal cases.
Of course it was. We're talking about
it wasn't over confirmation. You're making it appear that Gonzalez was opposed to your confirmation.
Of course he's not opposed. How can he be opposed if he's the counsel to President Bush? He goes, yes, sir, I'll do whatever you want to do. That's an
outrageous conclusion. Actually, let me ask you about something that is indisputable in the public record. The Texans for Public Justice analyzed Justice Owen's votes on the Texas Supreme Court. In Texas, we elect our judges. Many states do. But she had a remarkable record of ruling in favor of her contributors. Get this. Owen's 11 biggest litigant donors appeared in her courtroom 26 times. While these big docket donors prevailed an enviable 77% of the time before the court as a whole, Owen herself was even kinder, favoring her contributors 85% of the time. Now, you were in the Congress. We didn't agree on anything, but you didn't vote with your contributors 85% of the time, Bill McCollum. Why should she?
Let's set the record straight, Paul. This is an outrageous partisan attack on this woman, and it's a spin that you're doing and others are doing.
So that's not true?
Let me finish this answer. Justice Owen Justice Owen was elected by 83% unopposed the last time. She was listed as well qualified by the American Bar Association to this post that she was nominated for, which is the highest rating the American Bar can give. She had the support of every major newspaper in this country, including the liberal Washington Post. How can anyone say that all of this stuff is really true? I'll tell you what.
Are you comfortable with a judge who votes 85% of the time for her contributors to win cases before her, sir? Just answer the question,
please. Let me tell you
please.
what else is there to answer that question. Yeah, 10% of the time is how often she dissented from the majority of the Texas Supreme Court, which is less than half the time the United States Supreme Court justice on average dissent.
Interesting, but
this
not
is a
the question I asked,
mainstream
sir.
judge. I'm comfortable with how she voted because I think she voted the right way.
Members, Democrats on the Judiciary Committee in 1997 when President Clinton was naming judges. I'd like you to read them quickly. I'd like to read them to you quickly. Senator Ted Kennedy, it's time to end the excessive partisanship over judicial nominations. Senator Pat Leahy, if there is one area where partisan politics should not be allowed, it is in the area of the federal judiciary. And I love this one. Senator Joe Biden. Everyone who is nominated is entitled to have a shot, to have a hearing, and to have a shot to be heard on the floor and have a vote on the floor. Why wasn't she given a vote on the floor? Because there were votes to confirm her, isn't that right?
And you know, those senators were talking about an unprecedented occurrence in our nation's history. John Ashcroft and Trent Lott and Orrin Hatch actually blocked 35% of Clinton's circuit court judges that were nominated. 35%. Do you know? And I
What
think you
about
mentioned it
saying
before.
everybody should have a shot on the floor?
Please. They were talking in those statements, Senator Leahy and Senator Biden, about people who had been approved by the Judiciary Committee and were being blocked by Trent Lott and the right-wing Republicans. What we don't know, let me finish my statement,
You don't even
please,
know
Bob.
that, Ralph.
I do, too. I've studied this, as apparently you have not
She
yet,
said
Bob.
everybody needs
But
a hearing.
The point, and that is exactly what Pat Leahy is doing. I think you mentioned before 73 judges confirmed already, more than in the first year of the H.W. Bush administration.
Not more than the Clinton first 2 years. The reality is 127 judges were confirmed by the Republicans when President Clinton was in his first 2 years of office versus only 73 here. And in her case, in this particular instance, you got both United States senators and the American Bar Association certifying that she has the top rating of all and wanting her to be confirmed, and many Democrats in Texas wanting it, and she's being rejected. In the case of the ones that were rejected by the Republicans in the past, of the Clinton nominees you named, they didn't have both United States senators. That was the key. They didn't have both of their senators in the state where they were nominated from.
Let me ask you about a broader
very,
question.
very
One of those senators then is now our Attorney General, John Ashcroft, and he made a point that I actually agree with. Let me read it to you. He said back in 1997, if the Senate's going to be responsible for the philosophy expressed by the members of the judiciary, then it's incumbent upon us to take the philosophy of the judiciary into consideration when we evaluate the suitability of those nominees.
You're now getting to the heart of the matter.
Right. Shouldn't we?
Senator Chuck Schumer says we should do that, but
yes.
historically,
so does Senator John Ashcroft.
But historically, we haven't. And even if you are going to take it, this is a new precedent. It wasn't taken before by Democrats. It isn't Biden's position. It isn't my position.
But it's Ashcroft.
And in reality, the only philosophy issue here is pro-life or pro-choice, and this woman is mainstream on that.
Bill McCollum, thank you very much, Ralph Neef.
Great to
thank
see you,
you.
Bob. Thank you.
Coming up in our Fireback segment, a viewer asks why no one's worried about another country that hates America's guts. But next, the man behind a legal offensive to get God out of America's public life. Thank you.
Outback's curbside takeaway. Call up, pull up, and we'll bring it right to your car. So you can enjoy our perfectly grilled shrimp and our juicy steaks seared to perfection.
Hey, think you might have accidentally locked me out.
Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right.
I wake up to a sky so blue with my girlfriend in the other room. Got the coffee on, pancakes done. I get sleeping outside in the sun.
American Leather offers you 70 different styles in 70 colors to choose from, custom made for you. American Leather, your style, your choice, your way.
Well, it's a pretty good day. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Hey Fred, my laptop crashed.
Well, after I dropped it.
Oh, Fred, do you know the password? I just changed my password to.
3 o'clock, Fred. Time to fry another hard drive.
Fred, I think I just crashed the internet.
Dealing with technology is hard. That's why CDW makes buying it as simple as possible by custom configuring brand name products to your specifications 1,500 times every day.
Hey, Fred, I fixed my laptop, but it still doesn't work.
CDW, the right technology, right away.
Consider this. New Shell gasoline is specially formulated to help prevent deposits in your engine. And a clean engine performs better. Is it any wonder, then, why so many drivers choose Shell?
Before you go back to school, go to America Online.
It's the ultimate school supply.
Our whole family uses AOL.
You can get help with your homework.
America Online has everything your family needs to start school and throughout the year. Call 1-800-4ONLINE or pick up a free AOL startup disc at these stores.
With revolutionary new Sirius satellite radio in his car, a man finds he feels more like a man. Does he need to ask for directions? Never. He's got 100% commercial-free music in his car, so there's no need to actually arrive. And just where does a guy with all this entertainment prefer to dine?
Did you want any ketchup with that? Girls?
Why, in his car, of course. Call now and get a $75 mail-in rebate. Sirius satellite radio. You'll never want to leave your car.
She's bold, compassionate, tenacious.
I'm going to ask the questions that you want me to ask.
One journalist, one network, infinite stories. Connie Chung, bringing it all to CNN tonight.
Welcome back to Crossfire. This summer, Dr. Michael Newdow became America's least favorite atheist. It happened when a federal appeals court panel took his side in a lawsuit and declared that the phrase "under God" should not be in the Pledge of Allegiance. The ruling's been put on hold, and many legal analysts expect it to be overturned, but Michael Newdow is not done. He has filed another federal lawsuit contending that it's unconstitutional for taxpayer-funded chaplains to pray in the Congress and minister to lawmakers. Dr. Newdow, who is an emergency room physician as well as an attorney, joins us from Sacramento, California. And here with us on our set, Indiana Congressman Mike Pence, a Republican, and like every member of Congress, he's a co-defendant in Dr. Newdow's lawsuit. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Newdow, welcome.
Dr. Newdow, everybody in Washington is trying to figure out where you end. Are you going to stop the singing of God Bless America and government functions? But in all seriousness, what in the world are you doing on this chaplains issue? The people like it. If anybody needs a chaplain, it's the members of Congress, I believe.
Well, I'm not sure.
What is your purpose?
Well, it's not the people like it. Look what you just said. Some people like it. The theistic people may like it, but there are other Americans who don't like it, and it's not supposed to be there. The chaplains, the congressmen can go down and worship anywhere they want in a church that's nearby, but they can't do it in the halls of Congress.
Well, Congressman Pence, we bring you into this. I actually don't think the chaplain violates the Constitution, but as a man of faith...
Neither does the Supreme Court, Paul.
I imagine we'll get to that in one day, but as a man of faith yourself and a member of Congress, how many people show up to that prayer every morning?
Well, I'm there often. There are usually a couple of dozen members on the House floor. But
I used to work there. But I want to... Couple of dozen? Out of 435 members, 420.
Being optimistic, Paul. But look, this has gone on since literally 1789. Started in the Federal Hall, where we'll be meeting in New York tomorrow in that historic joint session.
And yet, is there a greater den of sin than the Congress? I mean, has it done any good?
Well, and as I said before, the Supreme Court has ruled on this. 1983, when I was getting started in law school, the Supreme Court ruled in Marsh versus Chambers that the chaplaincies of the Senate and the House are in no way inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States. It matters, it's important to the American people, and it's a tradition in our history we should keep.
Dr. Newdow, I'm sure you've read some of our history. God was invoked at our founding Constitutional Convention, our earliest sessions of Congress. We have the motto, "In God We Trust." Where do you really believe that there was an intent in the framers of the Constitution to not permit those manifestations by the vast majority of this country in a belief in God?
No, I think they wanted everybody to be able to worship God as much as they want. They didn't want government to do it. And the Constitution, you'll notice, doesn't have God. You talk about the Constitution. It's missing. Why would they leave it out?
Every state constitution mentioned God. Every one of the preambles had a worship to God. Our federal constitution doesn't have it.
What about in God we trust? Do you believe that is unconstitutional?
Absolutely. On our coins and as our motto, sure.
Where do you end, Dr. Newdow? Do you go after that next? Is that your next lawsuit?
Hopefully. It'll depend on how the Supreme Court, if it gets there, rules on the pledge issue.
Well, we can do, with all due respect to Dr. Newdow, and I'm a conservative, Bible-believing Christian, but as my late father used to say, I'd fight to the death to protect Dr. Newdow's right to believe nothing or to be an atheist. That's part of what it is to be an American. But we're talking here about the traditions of this country. And the reality is that the founding documents of this country include not just the Constitution, but the Declaration, which says that every American is endowed by their Creator, capital C, Creator, with certain unalienable rights. It adheres to the American character to recognize a belief in a supreme being. We celebrate that in Congress every day.
The chaplain has at times been a divisive force in the House. Just a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, and a bipartisan 18-member panel recommended a Catholic priest to be the first Catholic priest to be the chaplain of the House of Representatives, and the right-wing Republican leadership overturned that. And it was a huge controversy. Well, because of this controversy.
Let's not make everything a partisan.
No, Dick Armey, in fact, said members would not feel comfortable with this Catholic priest. So this has been a source of division in the House just 2 years ago.
Well, there was some controversy about that. I know Chuck Wright, who was the other choice over the wonderful Catholic priest who's our chaplain now and does a brilliant job. This is an important American tradition.
Dr. Newdow, you
have what you're talking about, chaplains. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is we have an establishment clause. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, and you're sitting there discussing the congressional chaplains.
Are you saying that the Catholic religion is the established religion in this country? Are you saying that?
I'm saying theism is the established religion.
Well, in Dr. Newdow's defense, and I'm not here to defend you, Dr. Newdow, but the truth here is that our founders and the Supreme Court throughout the history of this nation has recognized that we are a religious people who acknowledge a supreme being, and that the acknowledgement of that supreme being has been a part of our culture and should remain a part of our national institutions. We are not an atheistic government. We are a government that believes we're endowed by our Creator with unalienable rights.
That's to be the last word. Thank you very much, Congressman Mike Pence. Dr. Michael Newdow, thank you very much. In just a minute, our viewers get to fire back at us and at Michael Newdow.
If you'd like to fire back at Crossfire, email us at crossfire@cnn.com. Make sure to include your name and hometown.
There's a change in the air, and it's moving us into the future. It's what happens when you streamline routes and improve on-time performance. Some call it innovation. We call it Norfolk Southern.
Exclusive Judge Judy straight talk after months of silence on some touchy topics. Only on Larry King Live, CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
We've got the cars you love to drive.
At Valley Motors, it's your time to buy. With 0 down and 0% financing for 5 years, get a Sable at $335 a month. A Grand Marquis at just $399 a month. Or the all-wheel drive Mountaineer at just $499 a month.
At Valley Motors, we've got the cars you love to drive. Salem.
To celebrate its 100th anniversary, Bassett has authorized the biggest sale in the company's history. Shop now through this weekend at Bassett Furniture Direct, where you'll find factory authorized savings store-wide. Plus, make no payments and pay no interest charges for 1 entire year on everything. It's the biggest sale in Bassett's history. Bassett's 100th anniversary sale, the 100-year event you won't want to miss.
Let's start at the beginning. Tell us your story. Did you have to give up a lot?
It's the most magical thing that ever happened, but it comes with a price.
VH1 Behind the Music.
You rose, you crashed. How'd you feel about that?
I had $300 to my name. We needed a hit.
The real stories told by the stars who lived them.
I'm such a screw-up. You feel you sold out? I wouldn't be rapping if I couldn't make any money. There's one thing I gotta know.
Sundays at 9 on VH1.
Was it worth it?
Brought to you by Taco Time. It really is.
As a surgeon, I see seniors getting hurt at home every day. When my elderly mother refused to go to a retirement home, I found Life Alert. They constantly monitor my mother at home. In an emergency, she pushes this pennant, and Life Alert gets help fast. All elderly should have Life Alert.
Please call the toll-free number on your screen for more information about Life Alert. The phone call is free. Call now.
This is CNN. This is CNN.
Closed captioning for selected programs provided by the Invention Submission Corporation.
Inventors, Invention Submission Corporation can help you try to patent your idea and submit it to companies.
Call 1-888-778-IDEA for free information.
Welcome back. It's Fire Back when the viewers take us on. Connie of Manassas, Virginia says, this man opposing God and every part of our national traditions needs to wake up. Does he not live in the same country as the rest of us that experienced the pain and horror of September 11th, 2001? Get your head out of the California smog. Connie, spoken like a true daughter of Virginia.
From Manassas. Ian Adrian in Staten Island writes, I don't know why we're thinking of attacking Iraq just because they might have nuclear weapons in a few years. Under that logic, let's attack North Korea. They hate our guts, they mistrust their people, and hey, they've already got nuclear capabilities. It's actually a very good point. There's a lot of countries we don't like that have the nuke.
Okay, Jim Parker of Pottsville, Pennsylvania writes, there are two things I hate worse than taxes, those who cheat on them and corporations doing big bucks here in the U.S. moving overseas to avoid paying them. Turn loose the dogs of war, sick 'em IRS. Jim Parker, I just hope the IRS never sicks you because you'll hate them worse than you hate the tax evaders.
Greg Derries in Colorado Springs writes, although I am generally liberal politically, I applaud Bob Novak for thinking for himself rather than spouting ideologue blather. He speaks out against the Republicans often enough to irritate them. What a guy. I agree. What a guy.
Yeah.
Liberals for Novak. A very small group.
Question, please.
Hi, my name is Katie. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And my question is, do you think there would have been just as much support for keeping the words under God if it wasn't for the massive patriotism after September 11th?
Yes, there would.
Yeah, I think so. It was added, actually, about 50 years ago, but people are comfortable with it. And it does not, as a liberal who supports separation of church and state, it doesn't mean we've established a state religion, and that's what the Constitution bars. Yes,
Next question.
Hi, I'm Lori from Nashville, Tennessee. If political stances on controversial issues are not legitimate reasons to decide whether to confirm a judicial candidate, then what would be such grounds?
I'll tell you what the grounds not to confirm are, is if they are criminal activity, they're corrupt, or they're unqualified. And it is an absolute trip into a very bad situation for our country when that your people are establishing, because the tables are going to be turned.
My people did establish them. They were named Madison and Jefferson and Washington. They wrote the Constitution. They didn't say the Senate will advise and confirm if qualified. They said simply advise and consent, and that means the Senate can decide for themselves, and God bless the United States Senate.
Question.
Yes, name's Ian from Alexandria, Virginia. There are no examples of successful atheistic countries. Can America's success be traced to a belief in a creator?
I really do believe it. I think that's one of the reasons we are the most God-fearing country in the world, and we are the most successful country in the world, even if some of the liberals don't think so.
You know, but let's not become a theocracy. The Taliban was more God-fearing than we were. We didn't happen to share their particular religion. But no, we don't need to turn this country into a theocracy. We need to separate church and state, and those of us who want to practice religion can do so as we see fit.
Separation of church and state doesn't mean you can't say a prayer at a football game in Texas. That's just ridiculous.
Actually, the Republican Supreme Court says you can't force children to say a prayer at a football game in Texas. They were right. From the left, I'm Paul Begala. Good night for Crossfire.
From the right, I'm Robert Novak. Join us again next time for another edition of Crossfire. Connie Chung tonight begins immediately after a CNN News alert.
I'm Aaron Brown in New York. Here's a quick look at some of the stories making news. Tonight, officials at a chemical weapons depot in Utah say neither the facility nor the public was in danger today during a terrorist alert there. A report that someone jumped a fence led to a lockdown at the facility this morning. No intruder has been found. The Deseret Chemical Depot is used to store and destroy chemical weapons such as sarin nerve gas. Normal operations are now resuming. In Florida, two teenage brothers sat through closing arguments in which the prosecution once again called them killers. Derek and Alex King are accused of murdering their father, killing him with a baseball bat. Both retracted confessions and now claim a family friend committed the crime, and that friend has already been tried separately for the murder. A jury has reached a decision, but the verdict won't be announced until the case against the two boys is over. Jury deliberations there begins tomorrow. As he raised funds for Republican congressional candidates in Kentucky and Indiana, the president today sought support for action against Saddam Hussein. Mr. Bush declaring the United States must confront Iraq and deal with threats today before they become incredibly serious tomorrow. And a defeat today for the president's nominee to a federal appeals court, a party line vote. The Senate Judiciary Committee rejected Judge Priscilla Owen. We'll join you for Newsnight, 10 o'clock Eastern. Connie Chung is next.
Good evening. I'm Connie Chung. Tonight, closing arguments in a murder trial with two boys' lives on the line.
If Ricky Chavez had not convinced the boys to take the blame for this, who would have been the primary suspect?
Closing arguments in the disturbing case of two young brothers accused of killing their own father with a baseball bat.
You should judge them by their actions, not their ages. By their intent, not by your emotions.
The two teens facing life in prison. Tonight, what were they like before their lives were to change forever? What were they like in school? A savage crime that shocked the nation. The attack on a Central Park jogger. More than a decade later, a new twist in the story.
There was no forensic match to any of these young men.
Were the wrong men convicted 13 years ago? September 11th, 1 year later, three CNN correspondents who brought us the story. Elizabeth Cohen.
People are just hoping that their relatives are out there somewhere.
Michael Oku.
I'm standing in Lower Manhattan.
And Maria Hinojosa.
It's the eeriest of feelings.
Opened their reporters' notebooks for a look back. Survivors. How the lives of three World Trade Center office workers changed in the year since 9/11. This is Connie Chung Tonight, live from the CNN Broadcast Center in New York. Connie Chung.
Good evening. Tomorrow, the jury gets the case. They've now heard the final arguments from prosecutors and from the defense in the case of two brothers, Derek and Alex, accused of killing their father, Terry King, last year. It's a shocking case, not just because of their age. They're now 13 and 14, but because a separate jury reached a verdict for the same murder last week. A man the boys knew was tried for the murder, but the verdict has been kept secret until the boys' trial is over. For closing arguments today, CNN's David Mattingly is on the story in Pensacola, Florida.
You should judge them by their actions, not their ages. By their intent, not by your emotions. I'm asking you to find them both guilty as charged.
Pointed closing arguments in an emotionally conflicting case. Did the boys, Derek and Alex, as prosecution describes, become so desperate to leave home that they killed their father to escape what one described as a prison? Or was it family friend and convicted child molester Ricky Chavez, driven, according to the defense, to strike the killing blow so that he and young Alex could continue a sexual and emotional relationship?
He was seduced by Ricky Chavez.
One big question for the jury: what about the compelling confession from the boys, full of astonishing detail? Orchestrated by Chavez, argues the defense, to protect himself.
He convinced them that because they were juveniles and because they were so abused, that they would get off.
But the graphic detail in the brother's confession, argues the prosecution, revealed things only the true killer could know and recall.
If, in fact, he was the killer, as defense counsel would have you to believe, why would he give all those gory, grisly details? All he's got to do is say, there was a fight, I killed your dad, I did it for you. As a matter of fact, since he loved Alex, he would spare Alex. He would spare Alex that trauma of all those details.
What the jury did not hear, however, were the details of the murder trial of Rick Chavez. That trial taking place just last week in this same courthouse. The verdict has been sealed and will not be revealed until after this trial is over and the fate of 2 young boys has been determined. David Mattingly, CNN, Pensacola, Florida.
We've been bringing CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin in to help us figure out this unbelievable case, and he's back again today. Jeffrey, thanks.
Hi, Connie.
All right, closing arguments. I want to deal with the defense closing arguments first. Alex and Derek have separate attorneys. Alex's attorney, Alex is the younger one, mentioned Rick Chavez, and that's the man that the boys claim killed their father. Let's take a look at a clip.
That's the way you convince somebody you're truly remorseful. I didn't mean to do it. Oh my God, it was horrible. This happened and that happened. You don't understand, Alex. I really, it was terrible, but I did it for us because he didn't understand us. He didn't understand that we are gay. You'll remember that Alex didn't know he was gay until he met Ricky Chavez. We got a letter that says that. As vile as that sounds. He was seduced by Ricky Chavez.
What is your take on the closing arguments?
Boy, you know, I'm not one of these people who thinks that defense attorneys have to chew the scenery and scream and yell. But how about a little passion? How about a little energy? I mean, these defense closings, I thought, were soulless, were dead. I mean, that excerpt, that was about the dramatic high point of that summation. That wasn't exactly, what you'd expect in a parking dispute. I mean, these are 13 and 14-year-olds on trial for their life. I was struck, and we'll hear from Sharon Potter, who was even more asleep at the switch, I thought.
That's the attorney for the brother, Derek.
But I mean, they do make good points. If the jury could pay attention, which is, they were manipulated by this evil, evil man. Which, that's a compelling argument if the jury buys it.
Sure, and Derek's attorney, you just mentioned Sharon Potter. Derek is the older brother. Brings up the quote-unquote lack of physical evidence. That's what she claims. So let's look at an excerpt here.
The scene was very bloody. We know from the state's blood spatter expert that there was blood across the room on the opposite wall about 12 feet away. But the boys' clothes had no blood on them. There is no physical evidence at all tying the boys to this crime. And John Sanderson, the lead investigator on this case, testified yesterday on that witness stand that without their statements, there would be no evidence against the boys.
Well, there you go. There was no blood on the boys' clothes.
Absence of evidence, always a good argument, even though it's made like a directory assistance operator. I mean, it is a good point.
I don't want to laugh at your
jokes.
I'm
sorry. But I mean, you heard that. I mean, I've rarely heard such monotone in a courtroom. But it is an important point that she brought out. If they had committed this crime, and remember, this is a horrific crime. This is someone beating with a baseball bat. If
the older brother supposedly did it.
Right. Where's the blood? Where is the hair? Where is the fiber evidence that would have tied him to the crime?
All right. I suppose the confessions that the boys gave to the authorities, and they're recanting them as well, are critical. Because if the jury believes the confessions, isn't that it?
The whole case comes down to the confessions, no doubt about it. And what's so striking is that there's really not much corroboration. On the prosecution side, they don't really have much other evidence. But juries, for better or for worse, and we learn that confessions can sometimes not terribly reliable. They believe confessions, and this is a horrible crime. And remember, this jury, they don't have anyone else to blame. They're not considering Ricky Chavez. He's had his jury. It's up or down on these kids. So, you know, they're the ones in front of them.
I quickly want to show one more clip to you. This is the prosecutor, and he is talking about the confession and that Derek gave and exactly the detail that he knew. Here it is.
Derek knew the details. Derek knew it, knew exactly where the cup was positioned and the position that his father's body was in. Derek is the perpetrator.
Well, makes sense.
Well, that's the best argument the prosecution has, but the defense did make the point that, look, they were briefed by Chavez. He's the one, the mastermind. He told them where everything was, and that's what's in front of the jury.
All right, so the case will probably go to the jury maybe tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow morning. I mean, these cases are lightning speed. The verdict came in the Chavez case on last Friday. Here we are 1 week later. We'll get the verdict in the case.
All right, in the Chavez case, the verdict is sealed. It's not being
We don't know.
released. If this verdict comes out, what happens? I mean, help me here.
You know, since this is, as far as I can tell, never happened in the history of American law before, I can't tell you exactly how it's going to work. What I assume will happen is that they will read the verdict in the kid's case, because that's the one in front of them, and then perhaps at the same proceeding, perhaps at another proceeding, go hear what the verdict is on Ricky Chavez.
All right. Thank you, Jeffrey Toobin. I suspect we'll be hearing from you again.
Could be.
Derek and Alex King have been in the Escambia County Jail since late last year, and in that time, the school district has been providing a teacher for them. Joining us now from Pensacola with some insights on who they are and what life is like for these boys, school district spokesman Ronnie Arnold. Thank you, Mr. Arnold, for being with us. Since the two
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it. Since the two boys have been in jail, you have been providing a teacher for them. What kind of students are they?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. Florida statutes mandate that all juveniles being held in lockup are provided educational services just as they would be in open society. We have a gentleman who works with those two youngsters 2 hours a day.
Every day?
Yes, ma'am. They concentrate on the core curriculum, basically the 3 R's,
Right.
reading, writing, and, of course, mathematics.
And what kind of students are the two boys?
Well, the teacher I've spoken to, and he characterizes them both as basic average kids. I would say that Alex is characterized, I think the expression he used was he's like a sponge, he absorbs everything. They have access to a computer, although they don't have internet access.
And do they excel in any subjects?
Well, he says they're both very strong math students.
Do they want to learn?
It seems that's the case, and I would say, from what I've been told, Alex is the more eager of the two, probably.
And I've also been told that the older brother, Derek, suffers from ADD. Do they seem focused to the teacher?
I'm not aware of that situation with Derek specifically. That has been reported in the local media.
I see. Are they taught together or separately?
Yes, the gentleman teaches the two boys together concurrently.
And you say this is normal procedure. These boys are not given any special treatment? Because it does seem unusual that a teacher comes in and basically tutors them for 2 hours.
Right. Well, you have to understand they're not under ideal circumstances. At any given time, we have between 8 and 12 juveniles, in adult lockup. And, the state says we must provide educational services. So we say we do, the best we can.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Ronnie Arnold. And we'll be right back.
Next, the wilding attack on the Central Park jogger. Will new evidence clear the teens convicted of the crime? Connie Chung tonight. We'll be right back.
Oh, Alan, I've been reviewing your IT budget for the quarter, and what if you only had this?
Oh, wow.
No matter how your budget changes, there's a Dell solution to fit your needs with the performance and reliability your business needs today and tomorrow. Like a Dell Dimension desktop with an Intel Pentium 4 processor for just $699. Or Dell Business Notebooks with mobile Intel Pentium 4 processor starting at just $1199.
I can make this work.
Call or go online today to get great deals on Dell Business Systems, like a Dimension desktop with an Intel Pentium 4 processor for $699. Right now, double your memory for free on select systems and get free ground shipping on select systems.
You know, why don't I take that back?
So, are you not cutting my budget?
Oh, no, I'm cutting your budget.